Hey, welcome back. This is the 8th video in my Getting Started with Classical Guitar series. That was Ecossaise, Opus 33, number 2 by Mauro Giuliani. So Giuliani was an Italian composer who was alive in, I believe, the late 18th century to the early 19th century. He was a contemporary of Beethoven. And he's very famous as a guitar composer. And that's the piece that we're going to be working on today. It's going to cover a couple new things. Let's just jump in. Look at the music first. And before we get started, you might want to check the links below. I've uploaded a PDF of this piece. And this time I've included a second PDF that has the tablature. So that might be useful for some of you who are maybe not here to read the sheet music, but just want to, learn a couple pieces and you already read tablature. That's there for you too. So let's get started. Let's discuss some new things on this piece that we haven't encountered yet. The first thing I'm going to talk about are the dynamic markings. This P here. And there's another one on line 3. There's an F. So this P is a dynamic marking that stands for piano, and that means we play softly. So that's why the P starts relatively soft. And then when we get to line 3, there's an F. And F stands for forte, which means to play loud. So when we get to this third line here, we're going to pump up the volume. Right? All right. So let's see what else here might be new. The other thing that might be new are these slurs. So you see these little lines that are connecting notes. So generally in music, a slur means to play the notes that are connected, like smoothly and connected, right? So how you do that depends on the instrument. One way that's done on guitar, and oftentimes the slur notation is used to notate hammer-ons and pull-offs. So what those are, I'll demonstrate one at a time. First I'll demonstrate a hammer-on. So a hammer-on means you pluck a note, like let's say the first fret on the first string, and then without plucking it again, you can set down a second note. So right? And I did that on the third fret. So just show that again. Pluck. Set my finger down hard enough that the note sounds. The opposite of that is a pull-off. So that would be like we start with both of our fingers down on the first fret and the third fret. Pluck. Pull your ring finger off. So the way this works, a lot of times I see beginners, when they do this, they just kind of lift up their finger. And that will cause the note on the first fret to sound, but it's not very clear. The better way to do it is to pluck the note and basically kind of pick the string with your left hand, right? So hammer on, pull off. And you can practice those anywhere. Right? That was a little more elaborate, but all right, let's jump back to the sheet music for a second. All right, so so for example, let's take these first two notes, this E and this F, both played on the first string. This slur here is going to be notating a hammer-on. So you pluck the E string, and then you place your finger down on the F without plucking again. Okay. There's another slur here from the B to the C. It's going to be on the second string. Okay. There's a few of these throughout the piece. They're mostly, on these first two lines, it's always from the open string to the first fret. just on the first and second strings where those hammer-ons are. Yeah, the third line is going to have a pull-off right here. So this would be a case where you are holding this G, in this case with your fourth finger, your pinky. You're going to pluck it and pull off to the F without plucking the string again. So yeah, hopefully I'm not beating a dead horse on that. I probably am, but that's what the slur notation generally means on guitar. And I don't want you to get the idea that that's what it always means on guitar, because it doesn't. It depends on your sheet music. The publication, if you buy a piece of music, a lot of times there's a key at the beginning that will show you, like, oh, this is what a slur means. Sometimes I see a slur like this. That means kind of the traditional music sense where you just play the notes connected, and it's maybe marking some phrase where it wants you to play those notes together kind of as like one unit, or accent them like they're one unit of music. And then they'll notate hammer-ons and pull-offs with like a dashed line or something. So yeah, if you buy a book, I recommend checking the first few pages always, just to see if there's a legend. Let's see what else we got here. Another new thing are these little dots, and they're probably very hard to see with all the fingerings on here. I put a lot of fingerings on here, probably too much. If you see a little dot under the M and a little dot under the I, when you have a little dot next to the note, that's telling you to play the note staccato. So that means play it short. So just for example, normally when you pick a note, you might do something like this. Just going to pluck the first string. Staccato is more like you don't let the note ring out. And the way that works, at least one way that works, is, for example, you can pluck the first string, like with your index finger, and set down your middle finger on the string to keep it from ringing, and that also gets it in place to pick the string. So pluck with the middle, then put down your index to stop the ringing, pluck, okay, you kind of see how that's working? So again, a little bit faster. And the way that sounds in context, let's jump to, say, the third measure of this line here where my mouse is. So there's a hammer-on here on the first two notes, or sorry, a pull-off on the first two notes, and then the next two, this E and F, are staccato. So the way that's going to sound is, okay. So yeah, maybe let me just play these last two measures together, because that one measure is not really enough context. So yeah, both these measures are going to start with a pull-off and then have two staccato notes. So it's going to sound like this. Right, play that again. Okay, and that just gets a little bit more, gives a little more flavor to the music. What else here is new? I don't think we've covered these repeat signs before. So if you notice this bar line, these vertical bars, there's a thin line and a thick line with two dots before it. That's a repeat sign. So what that means is when we start the music, we're going to play the first line, do-do-do, play the second line, and then you see this bracket here with the 1 on it. The first time through, we're going to play the first ending, and then hit this repeat sign, go back to the beginning of the piece. Play again, first line, second line, and then the second time through, you're going to skip this bracketed 1 and jump to the second ending. And from there, you're going to continue on to the third line. And notice this one has a start repeat symbol at the beginning. So this means when you get to the next repeat, you're not going to go to the beginning of the piece. You're going to jump back to where the repeat started. So you play the third line, and then play the fourth line, take the first ending, hit this repeat, go back to the repeat start here, play this third line again, then the fourth line, jump to the second ending. All right, then from here, this DC al fine, this is going to mean go to the beginning of the piece and play until the fine, or the end. So from here, after you take the second ending, you jump back to the beginning of the piece, play the first line again, then play the second line, and see it ends at the first ending here. So you just take the first ending, and that's the end of the piece. So let's, maybe I'll play it again and just kind of walk through it as I'm playing it, and then try to read along as I'm playing the notes. So this is in 2/4, so that means there's 2 quarter notes in each measure. And it also has a pickup measure. If you notice, this first measure only has 1 beat in it. It has 2 half beats because these are 2 eighth notes, but the 2 half beats are a whole beat, or 1 whole beat. So this first measure is worth 1 quarter note. So when we count in, we're going to start on 2. So we're going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? All right. So, yeah, I'm going to try to play this and talk through these repeats as I'm playing it, and hopefully that's don't mess up too bad. So I'll give it a shot. So ready? 1, 2, 1. Ending the first line, starting the second line. Take the first ending, repeat. At the end of the first line again, second line, and take the second ending. All right, great. Then we jump down. We're going to start from the third line. Remember, forte, so we're going to play loud. Ready? 1, 2. Staccato. First ending, back to the beginning of the third line. All right, we took the second ending. Now the DC al fine, we're going to go back to the beginning of the piece. Ready? 1. And first ending, and we get to the fine, and we are finished. So yeah, hopefully that's enough instruction on that. I'm trying to think of some other pieces of information that might be useful as you're practicing. Yeah, one thing to keep in mind is to read the rhythms in the bass note closely, in the bass notes closely. So for example, we have a low E, which is a quarter note, and then a quarter rest, and then an A, quarter note, and then a quarter rest. So what that is saying is we're going to try not to let, for example, this E ring through the entire measure. We're going to try to stop it. So it's going to sound more like, right? And the way I did that is when I pluck the E string, I move my thumb up. So let me go to the guitar view for a second. Maybe that'd be a little helpful. For example, I'm plucking the E string, and this is a rest stroke because I'm letting my thumb rest on the adjacent string. So I'm going to pluck the E, and then to stop it, I just kind of move my thumb. Give it a little adjustment, kind of back and touch the E string to stop it. Right? All right, so back to the music. And then it's going to be a little bit different when we get to the second section on the third line. So if you notice, the bass notes are half notes. and they're allowed to ring out for the whole measure. So in the bass, you should hear. So adding the top. Right? I'm going to play that one more time. I'm going to play just the bass notes, and then I'll play them together, and I'll try to play the top a little quieter and play the bass louder so it stands out more. So ready? One. Or let me just put my mouse where I'm starting. It's going to be the start of the third line here. 1, 2. Okay. Let me see if I have anything else to say here. I guess the other thing that I'll say is I put a lot of fingerings on this piece. A lot more than I would normally put. And the reason I did that is because I know for beginners, at least for me, when I was first getting started, that was something I was very stressed out about, which is like, oh my God, which fingers am I supposed to use? Because a lot of music doesn't have right or left hand fingerings on it. You're just kind of it's assuming that you know what you're doing. Once you get outside of instructional materials into like actual music. But I mentioned on the last video that I gave this reminder that the left hand's numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. The last video didn't have any right hand fingerings in it, and this one does. So for example, there's like a little P here, a little I, a little M. There's some A's in here somewhere. The way the fingers on the right hand are notated is P for your thumb, I for your index, M for your middle, and A for your ring finger. So these are the notes you pluck with: P, I, M, A. The other thing I'll say about that is that, for these left-hand fingerings, the numbers, I would say follow them very closely. For the right-hand fingerings, I will give you this caveat that there is no like one way to play most pieces. So don't follow these right-hand fingers religiously, or you don't have to. I would just say in general, as you're playing pieces like this, try not to repeat fingers to the extent that you can. That just makes it a little bit easier to play. And that's not even a hard, fast rule. A lot of people will tell you that, you got to like not repeat fingers. You always got to be like using a different finger when you're playing adjacent notes. But that's not always the case, because sometimes you do want to repeat fingers. And I'm sure I've done it here as I've been playing these, because as I'm playing these pieces, I went through and notated a right-hand fingering that I thought, kind of made sense as I was playing through it. But I also kind of tried to put in some little modifications from what I'm actually playing that I thought might be a little bit easier for somebody getting started. But yeah, even if I play this piece twice, I haven't played it enough times or gone through and notated my right-hand fingerings to really have them down solid. I'm kind of playing it a little bit different each time. So if you want to mix up your right hand a little bit with the fingers you're using, that's totally cool. I would just say stick to the thumb with the bass part, and yeah, like I said, try not to repeat your fingers as much as possible. That's pretty much all I have on that. So hopefully that was enough to get you started. So yeah, I hope you had a good time watching the video. If it was useful, please like. If you want to be notified when I upload another one, please subscribe. Again, check the links below for the sheet music as PDFs. And yeah, thanks for stopping by.